Hey guys, this is for anybody who might be going through a really rough time right now. Things might feel a little heavy. Um, I want to talk to you about change. This isn't going to be like the typical, whatever view talk, okay? I'm going to talk to you about what happens right before the change. I want you to think about what they say. Change will never occur until the pain becomes so unbearable that you are forced to change. But have you actually thought about those moments? Like, looked back at your life and thought about the moment everything changed? I do often. This is a part of my healing journey. Every time I know of a change in my life, if I remember that it was a catalyst of some kind that forced me to change, I look at what happened right before it. And I'm going to tell you, some of those moments were some of the worst moments of my life. Legit. I was talking to a friend yesterday about the moment that I realized I needed help back in 2020. That was a huge catalyst of change in my life because I didn't just get help, I realized my purpose. And I shifted focus and I began to rise, and I rose rapidly. And then I look at every single change that has happened since that moment. Every single time I am about ready to just stop. That moment gets so heavy that whatever it is I release, it's like a rubber band being pulled back and pulled down and pulled down and pulled down. And I swear to you, this is exactly how my cycle of life has been. I think I'm happy somewhere. That's exactly what it is. I'm not on the course that I'm supposed to be on. Like my military career, I wasn't meant to stay there. I was meant to learn while I was in there, and I did. But as soon as I got to a point in my career where there was a big choice, like, do I go into leadership? And I was going to go into leadership, my life got really heavy. Really heavy. I ended up actually being in an intensive outpatient program because my life got that heavy. And then I sprung up as soon, it was actually, that heavy period was 5 years. It was from, from 2015 to 2020. That was 5 years of heavy carrying around this like pulled back freaking rubber band this entire time. And then in 2020, almost exactly 5 years after I got out of the military, I sprung up and changed a lot about my life, a lot. And I was on an upward trajectory for quite some time, and then I stagnated. And I shouldn't say I stagnated. I shouldn't say that because I wasn't stagnating. I was actually still climbing. And then suddenly I hit a wall. That makes more sense. It was like a cap. I reached the cap for the amount of weight I was carrying. Make sense? I finally hit it, and I needed help again. So I actually stopped seeking help outside of myself. And I started to kind of go into like a mixed era. It's actually probably the best way to describe it. So prior to the second slingback period, it was a like mixed period, like a period of just focusing on therapy, and then a mixed period of focusing on therapy and doing my own healing within myself, and really truly trying to figure out how to heal instead of just cope with life, okay? And then I had another very low moment, and I was just pulled down and pulled down and pulled down and pulled down and pulled down. And when I let go, like I sprang up so far and so fast, like, and I don't mean like I missed my mark. I feel like I finally am able to let go of the therapy to the point of where, like, I feel like I've transitioned from a very low period of my life to like a midway period of my life to the period of my life where I'm finally figuring it out. And every time I get to that new stage, there's a very, very heavy period. And it's during that really heavy period that I kind of like go back over what happened in that last big period and figure out, like, hey, what do I need to change? And that's pretty much what's happening when I'm in that depression period, you know, in that very dark, heavy period. I can't say I was depressed this time. I was focused very much on staying positive this time, but I was in a heavy period. There was a lot that was weighing on me, but I was maintaining that heaviness through practicing self-care every day. And yeah, at first it was like just mental self-care. Then it was, you know, a little bit more of the physical self-care. And it got more and more that the easier it was to carry myself, basically. So, but like, and so it wasn't like a quick shoot up and then like, bam, I crashed again. No, this was like a nice, steady, like, I keep thinking of a catapult. Okay, that's all I can think of is a catapult. I'm still flying through the air towards the castle. Anywho, so like I want it to be understood that these moments that we have, or even these periods of our life that we have, I mean, mine lasted 5 years because I couldn't quite figure out what I needed to change. And so, like, because I was always focusing on external, and then I moved to a more internal and external focus. And then as I got older, I turned to more of an internal focus because I realized at this point in time in my life, like, I'm better to the people around me when I'm good to myself. If I am happy and good with myself, there's less chances that I'm going to be angry and yell at my children. The point that I want to make is that just, you know, don't beat yourself up over this. Okay, so if you've been doing like really good for a really long time, and then, you know, suddenly you're like super low and you're like, I have no idea what's going on, like, I've been, you know, working on myself, like, it's pretty normal. Like, I like to think of it as like the big release. Like, all of, let's say you've been working on yourself for a couple of years, right? And this entire time has been like dawn. And as the sun continues to rise, you start to see more and more shadows popping up from the shorter shadows as the shadows start to disappear. I always talk about the shadows, but I don't really see them necessarily as shadows, like bad. I don't see them as bad. I see them as our protective qualities, like the things that we do to make ourselves feel good if we're not feeling good. Like, you know, grabbing that candy bar just because we had a bad day. Like, these are things that we've taught ourselves to do, and reaching for accolades is something that we've been taught to do. These are all things that, you know, we learned over our lifetime, and it's not easy to let go of these things. Like, it takes a while. And so as we continue to heal, like, these things that we never really considered before as heavy, they start to sneak back into our lives if we're not paying a lot of attention, because, you know, we get busy. And then suddenly, you know, we're feeling heavy again, and we're like, I don't even know what's going on. Like, I don't. It's probably time for you to spring up. So don't be upset at yourself. Sit with yourself. Give yourself a good talking to. And I don't mean in a bad way. Journal. Be honest. Hey, how are you? What's going on in there? How are you feeling? What's the current mood? Just talk to yourself. Because you never know. Something might be hiding in there you hadn't even considered before. Or it came up and you didn't realize it came back up. It happens. Trust me. We all do it.